Hey guys, it is Tumblr user Who Was Phone here, and I am back. I have risen from the figurative grave to bring you guys some new video game content in the form of this Dark Souls 3 video. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be continuing the Dark Souls 1 playthrough that I had going from October of last year. I just don't think it's going to be the best use of my time to go back there and try and finish commentary that at this point is like, well, the newest commentary is 4 months old, but the oldest is like 8 months. So maybe I'll go back later when I'm feeling Dark Souls 1 and try and finish that up to give it some closure. But for the time being, I'm going to either stick with Dark Souls 3 or, I don't know, maybe do something new, different game. I haven't really decided yet. I haven't even really decided where this video is going to fit in that whole spectrum. I haven't decided if this is going to be the start of an ongoing Dark Souls 3 series, which is something that I would like to do, but I don't know if I have the motivation for it. Because the last one ended up being like 23 or 24 videos at the halfway mark or a little bit past the halfway mark. So I'm not really sure what that means for this. I think Dark Souls 3 on a whole is a lot shorter than Dark Souls 1, and it's a lot easier. So I can probably fit more into one video without losing as much time, backtracking or explaining. So we'll see how that goes. But for the time being, let's just hop into the game and not worry so much about the logistics of it.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. The bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Undead Legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the Giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Alright, good intro. I gotta say, they really nailed the intro for this one, too. That's kind of something that I didn't like about Dark Souls 2. I didn't like the change of narrative style. And that might have been well, I mean, I guess not total change of narrative style. There were still things that were consistent between all games of the series, but I mean, like, I guess the cohesiveness of it. Because say what you will about, Dark Souls world building or the story and how cryptic it is, it always makes sense internally. Like, it's always something that's, like, I don't know, it's easy to suspend your disbelief, I guess. And it was harder for me to do that with Dark Souls 2, just because, I don't know, there were little things that were different, and it may have been because of stylistic differences between, like, the A team and the B team or whatever, but regardless of all that, I think Dark Souls 3 got it right again. The whole tone of the game is fantastic. They really nailed the music, they nailed the scenery. Basically, everything's a plus, with a few exceptions, and that is something I'll get into as we come across them. But for now, character creation. I'm going to go ahead with the tried and true video games as our name. Going to head and go with the male. Age doesn't really matter, so I'll just keep it default. Don't know what we're going to do for a class. I haven't really thought a lot about what I want the character to be for this video / series, other than I do not want it to be a cleric, because following in the footsteps of the other games, From Software decided to make Faith completely shit again for some reason. So basically unusable as a combat role. Not bad for like support, but I don't know. I don't like it as much as I did in pre-patch Dark Souls 2. Because pre-patch Dark Souls 2 was the most fun I've ever had with a Faith build, because you had like 70 lightning spears or whatever, but it's pretty much back to how it was in Dark Souls 1. They have more interesting miracles, and the FP system lets you spam a little bit easier than you could in the other games, but still, not great. Maybe you go Deprived. That seems like a safe bet, but you miss out on a lot of the head start that you get with the other classes. So maybe I'll just go with Knight. They're easy. Yeah, they're easy. It's good to make a series around them. Pretty basic, though. As far as burial gifts go, they're all pretty shit. They don't really have any big impact on the game, like the Master Key did. I mean, there really isn't anything at all that I want to take here. And that has not changed in my previous playthroughs of this game, because I have beaten this about 4 different times, and every single time I choose the life ring, just because everything else seems kind of shit. But I think I'll go with the gold coins for the item discovery and see if it pays off in the short term. I'm not going to use any of the face presets. I'll just use like one of my previous presets, I guess, if I can load it. Can I? There we go, load favorite. I kind of made this guy pretty hastily too, but I like him better than the default look of the character. Let's go with this one, dude. Actually, let's go with this one because he's our most recent. Okay, so we've got a young male knight with a rusted gold coin named Video Games. Yep, seems about right. I like how the starting area in this one is very linear too, if you know where to go already. So there's like a lot of side areas, but the main path is very concretely laid out before you. So it makes running through it in new playthroughs a whole lot easier, and it increases like the quality of life of that whole beginning segment by a lot. I think that was the problem with Dark Souls 1 and 2. Actually, not so much with 2. They took a similar approach to the starting area, but Dark Souls 1 for sure. And the tutorial could get a little bit, I don't know, it can get old if you're playing it for like the 7th or 8th time. And I think that the strength of these games is in their replay value, because that way you can get the full story out of them. But anyway, here we are. We have loaded into the Cemetery of Ash. The only things we have on us are a longsword and a knight shield, which is a pretty good starting shield actually, at 100% physical damage absorption, and a set of heavy armor. the knight armor, which I am immediately going to remove pieces of to get us under the roll limit. Actually, I can do that, right? Yeah, I can do that. I think the rolling is actually faster than the previous games. Like, you get more iframes, and the amount of iframes and animation time doesn't really differ a whole lot between roll styles if you're not heavy rolling. It's like, this is the medium roll, right? And I think that's basically exactly the same as the light roll. Not exactly the same. You get a little bit more distance in the light roll, but still. I actually think that mid-rolling is where you want to be for this game. Actually, I wonder, can we do this at 61? Yeah, actually, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Okay, cool. So we're going to mid-roll with our heavy armor. But as I was saying, mid-rolling in this game is pretty important. I think that the increased distance on the light roll kind of messes up your positioning for some of the boss fights. Even mid-rolling does for some of them, so sometimes rolling isn't even your best bet, but I think as a more general phrase, or a more general statement, that works. Get fucked. A lot of ambushes in the Cemetery Ash, not really sure why. I was originally just going to run straight through all this whole place, but there are some things that I can get now that I don't want to come back and get later, so we'll do that. These little demi-boss-like crystal lizards, I guess they're like the Wandering Knights from the last game, although Black Knights are still present. Stagger him, asshole. So there are still other mini-boss-like enemies, like the Black Knights, but these guys drop your Demon Titanite, your high-level weapon upgrades, gems to pretty important enemies to beat, and they are non-respawnable. I think all of them are. I'm not sure, maybe one or two aren't, but as far as I know, they don't have any unique drops. I could be wrong about that. But my god, they are a pain in the ass to beat in the early game just because of how little damage you do. And I mean, like most things, they're going to scale and become harder, but as your AR increases, the amount of armor and health that they have is not really that big of a deal anymore. I don't think their attacks have any special properties either, other than they hit hard. And you'll see that I'm going to be playing unlocked for a lot of this as well, because it makes it easier to dodge certain attacks from certain enemies. And I think it's a good practice to get in the habit of playing both locked and unlocked, because they both have their advantages and disadvantages. And something that I've noticed in my previous playthroughs is that I play almost exclusively locked on, which can lead to a lot of sticky situations with the camera angles. So we're going to give unlocked play a try for a little bit and see if that increases my my performance. I'm pretty sure that that was the only thing I actually needed to do here, other than pick up that other loose soul. So we're going to go ahead and just run straight through these guys. Damn, I didn't realize how many souls that lizard gives you. It's actually a pretty significant number. Here we get a first look at the environments for Dark Souls 3. I think this is Lothric Castle. I'm not sure. We'll get into exactly where these places fit in geographically another time, because that's another kind of plot point, I guess. But this is what I meant about, you know, the atmosphere of the game. They really nailed it on this one. They really used the technology to its fullest potential. Sweet. So this is the second half of the Cemetery of Ash. It is even faster than the first half because there's even less you actually need to do here. I'm just going to go ahead and run straight through this dude. There are like some ambushes scattered around this place, but it's not imperative that we trigger those ambushes because there's not really anything we want here. And if there is, I'll just come back later. But I'm going to go ahead and rest just to get the bonfire, reset my Estus, and then get the emote. And then we'll continue. So over here, gives you that little tip about jumping, and there's a little Titanite shard up here that you can jump to. So get that for sure. Plunging attack right here on this enemy. Pretty standard Souls stuff. Another standard Souls staple is non-linear level design. So you have another path to get to this place from here, and if you don't take that optional path, you might never see that guy, but you know, that's par for the course in the Souls game. And right off the bat, not even like 5 minutes of gameplay, and there is a boss. Good way to set the tone early on, and a pretty cool boss too, both thematically and aesthetically. That poor guy. You'll see that black stuff coming out of him. That becomes relevant later on. But there is no other way to get past this, as far as I know. I don't even think I'd want to, because his fight's pretty fun, and it's not too tough. So you need to kill him for that door to unlock. So that's what we're going to do right here. And I'm going to get some free hits on him, because I'm a jackass. Alright. Oops. So he uses a lot of delayed attacks, which, I don't know. Ooh, shit. That was fast. Alright, well, that happened a little bit faster than I wanted it to. But, I mean, I would have liked to show you his delayed attacks a little bit more, but unfortunately, he transformed on us. I mean, not a very hard first boss, but I think that ideally, that is the level of difficulty that the first boss should be. You want a boss that veterans are going to be able to destroy, and that new players are going to have something to work with to kind of get them used to the mechanics of boss fights in general, and then that whole warm-up transformation mechanic that is featured a lot. So all in all, Iudex Gundyr, A+ first boss, even better than the Asylum Demon in my opinion, just because he's a little bit more interesting and more lore significant too. So here we go. First big door that is reminiscent of the big Pilgrim's door in the first game as well, which I thought was kind of cool. I think that in these games, these big doors are symbolic of gateways or thresholds, in addition to being, you know, literally doors to important places. So keep that in mind. Good thing to know. Broken straight sword. I forget what the items are over here. I think they might be like alluring skulls or something, maybe a soul. You know, maybe I'll upload a separate video. Oh, Homer Bone, about the same thing, but maybe I'll upload a separate video about that Iudex fight, because it is a lot of fun if you know, dodge around him and don't cheese him, I guess, as hard as I did. Like, if you know his attack patterns, it's really hard for him to hit you. Even his delayed ones, just because you know how much delayed there's going to be and stuff like that. And this is the first time that I've played this game in about 3 months or 2 months, so I'm a little bit rusty and I can still beat him like that. So that goes to show how much of a challenge he poses. I guess we can just go in. Alright, Firelink Shrine. Man, when I first stepped into this area on release day, I was like dumbstruck. I was blown away. Like, no way this could be the same Firelink Shrine from the first game. Like, there's no way. Just looking at like the environment outside. First Firelink Shrine wasn't here, next to Lothric on this big outcrop of stone. But I don't know how much of that is like literally this is Firelink Shrine and how much of it's like metaphorically this is the place where ritual will be undergone to link the fire, because you know that's really what Firelink Shrine was in the last game. It wasn't so much of a place of importance because it was, you know, Firelink Shrine, but because of what happens at Firelink Shrine. That's something we can get into a little bit later as well, because that's going to come up in the story. The first NPC we saw was actually this guy. Actually, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's rewind. Okay, so when you step in, you see these thrones, and these are the thrones that they were talking about in the cinematic, how the Lords of Cinder had abandoned them. There is one throne for each lord that went missing, and then there's the 5th throne inhabited by that little guy over there. I don't know if you can see him, he's right above my helmet. But he is the only lord not to have abdicated his throne, and the only lord that we don't need to hunt down and kill, or hunt down and find, in order to restore balance. So, I guess we'll talk to you first, my friend.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
What a cheerful guy.
Don't you think? What a sick joke. Asking us. We're talking truly.
Yes, indeed. So he is Dark Souls 3's version of the Crestfallen Warrior. The Crestfallen makes an appearance in every game in some form or another, and I thought it was refreshing that they went with a different style of character. And he actually has a story, so that's another refreshing point and something that we're going to get into. Again, like so many things in this opening video, we're going to get to it later. We'll go down here, and look at that. Another familiar face. What the fuck are you doing here?
Well, a newcomer, I see. I am Andre. I serve at this shrine as a humble smith, forging weapons. You're in search of the Lords of Cinder, I trust? A toilsome journey, I'd wager. You'll require good arms. Let me smith you weapons. I am a smith. Such is my purpose.
Now, when I first saw Andre in Firelink Shrine, I was a little bit wary, I guess. Because on one hand, like, I don't know, it just seems lazy to just straight up reuse the same NPC from the last game in the exact same role, with no explanation whatsoever as to why he's here. That might just be part of, like, why this place is presented as being so cryptic, or so, I don't know, like, if you played the game, you probably felt how weird Firelink Shrine is. Like, the last Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1 seemed, like, almost kind of natural, but this one, I don't know, it seems unnatural. Maybe that's just as a result of the importance surrounding it, because, you know, in the first one, no one really knew how important Firelink Shrine was other than you and the people that were charged with linking the flame. So Frampt and everyone on Gwyn's side, I guess. But you don't really know whose side you're on here. You're not presented with an initial story like the last one that was kind of cryptic. You know exactly what you need to do. You know whose side you're on, and presumably everyone here is on your side as well. But I don't know. I just thought it was weird that they would feature Andre here. Maybe it's just gameplay consideration, or it could be story significant, like we might see later. I don't know. I guess that was kind of a not so cryptic clue. But I don't know.
Careful.
Later on, we're going to see kind of some of the underlying mechanics of Firelink Shrine, this Firelink Shrine, and why it kind of feels the way it does, and even why some of these NPCs are here in places that you would not expect them to be. Another example of this being her. She looks an awful lot like the old Firekeepers from the first, or not first game, from the second game, that were present in the beginning.
A pleasure to make thine acquaintance, Ashen One.
I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me. As is thy wont, no?
Interesting character. Among the most cryptic in this game, which is saying something because there were a lot of them. So she's like kind of the general merchant. She sells all these weird kind of odds and ends. She also sells boss armors. So I guess she's like, oh God, what was his name from the second game? Shit, I can't remember. Damn, I can't remember. That's gonna make me. It's gonna make me mad. But anyway, yeah, she's like odds and ends trader. So she'll sell the White Sign Soapstone and the Dried Finger, which are pretty important for online play. So I'm just gonna go ahead and buy that now. She also sells a little bit of spells, some miracles. She will also inherit other merchants' inventories if you bring them their ashes. So that's the whole Umbral Ash thing she was talking about. So just in case you accidentally kill a merchant, you can still get their items and stuff. So it's not like Dark Souls 2 where you can resurrect them for paying a certain price. But anyway, we'll get into her backstory a little bit later.
Ashen One.
I think I've said later about 40 times in this video alone. But that is to be expected. We'll leave you for the last. There are some other things we have to do here before we progress the main story. This place is empty for now. This wing of Firelink Shrine, as is the wing adjacent or opposite to it, right over there. I think that's the only other NPC here, other than the last remaining lord, who we will talk to right now.
All that unkindled, and a seeker of lords. I am Ludleth of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my charred corse. This sad cadaver, no need to be coy. Have a closer look. Knowest thou of our purpose? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast-fading flame must be licked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a lord of Cinder. I may be but small, but I will die a colossus. Now, do not be away over long.
Now, Ludleth is one of the most interesting characters in this game. I think that he is integral to the lore of Dark Souls 3, but as far as my theory goes, I can't really say how much of it I'm ready to release yet, or ready to talk about, because I don't want to look like an idiot. But rest assured, he's pretty important, and we're going to see a little bit more of him going forward too. He serves as the boss weapon trader, so you can bring him souls after you've beaten a certain boss, and he will forge you boss weapons. That's pretty nice. Now, another thing I thought was interesting is the whole linking of the fire in this game, and how it differs from how you link the fire in the first one. I actually think that the way that these lords link the fire is a lot more similar to how you did it previously. And I say this because, I mean, this is clearly not the status quo, right? Like, the world looks different, we get a different vibe from being here in Firelink. Everything seems kind of run down, and it did in the first one too, but it's going to be even more apparent as we get into the first area. So I think what is happening here is the literal end of the world, or the end of this cycle of fire and dark. We'll see the world start to change around us as we progress in the main story, and that will corroborate my points, I think. But that is my opinion. So I think it's the end of the world. I think that this ritual to link the fire, taking the remains of the previous 5 lords that have, and I guess combining them into one to relink it, it shows how fast the fire is fading, that one lord isn't strong enough anymore. You need every previous lord. So it's like kind of our last-ditch effort to keep the fire alive. And I am assuming that this process has been continued, I mean, at least 5 times, possibly more, but I think only 5 times. I guess we'll get into the details of the story later. I just wanted to say that was interesting to me. Last NPC we have is her.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I am a firekeeper. I tend to the flame and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side.
Okay, so she is the firekeeper for this game, the only firekeeper. And whether that's because the art of firekeeping has been lost or not, can't say right now.
Farewell, Ashen One, may the flame.
That may be why she's here. It might be why she's the only other firekeeper. I think that this is like the last real bonfire, I guess. The last major bonfire. Or at least the last... Yeah. What was that? No, go get it. Alright, gonna have to edit that out. Fuck, what was I saying? Right, so I don't exactly know why she's the last firekeeper that we're shown. Maybe there's more that we can't see. I don't know. But that's another interesting point of this game. Because we did see others previously. So in Dark Souls 1, we had the Dark Moon Nidus in Anor Londo. We had Anastasia in Firelink Shrine. We also had the Fair Lady, who kept the Quellog's Chamber bonfire, or Princess's Chamber bonfire going. So that was interesting. Obviously serving the same purpose, though. So I guess that's one thing that was passed down.
Ashen One, produce the coiled sword at the bonfire. The mark of ash will guide thee to the land of the lords, to Lothric, where the homes of the lords converge.
So that piece of dialogue, I think, is really important to understanding how this world works fundamentally. And I say that because there's going to be a lot of things in this game that seem like they're pandering to Dark Souls 1 fans, or like obvious cut and pastes. And I think that's intentional. There was a theory, I think, that the YouTuber ENB had about the nature of the world and why things are repeating so often. And I think it's because this place where the Lord's lands converge, Lothric, it is, I guess, the centerpiece of this world. Like, it won't let them, it won't let the Lords leave, basically. So they tried to abdicate their thrones, and they tried to escape by fleeing Firelink Shrine, so they weren't sacrificed to Link the First Flame. But the world itself would not let them leave, so it is constantly shifting the landscape to make sure that they're always close by Firelink Shrine. That was one theory, at least, about how all these things kind of line up and how they fit so nicely with the pre-established lore of Dark Souls 1 and the environments of Dark Souls 1. And I think that is how I'm going to be looking at it this playthrough. Maybe I'll see something that changes my mind, but that is the beautiful thing about Dark Souls lore and story. There are very few times where somebody can point to you and say, like, no, you're wrong. And it was intentional. It was intentionally open-ended, so... I'm trying to think of what else we can do here in Firelink. Like, I could explore it a little bit more, but I don't really need to. Any place that I could explore right now is going to be closed off to us until after the first zone anyway. But I guess I'll just show you some of the areas. So right off the bat, Dark Souls 2 reference. A giant tree. You examine it, and it says a seed of a giant tree is yet to fall. Interesting and cryptic. Try dash. Oh yeah, you can get to this this place without actually buying the shortcut from the merchant if you... Oh, shit, I actually would have had it there if I had been a little bit more to the left, but not super important that I get that now. I'll show you that later. Soul of a deserted corpse here, and a ladder that we can't access that we're going to kick from above by falling off this bridge, which we can't get to because the door's locked. And there's nothing else on this side, so this zone is going to have to wait a little bit. No big deal. Show you guys the outside too, although I think this is going to like 35, 36 minutes, so I might actually end up cutting this video a little bit short. Or maybe I'll record 2 and upload 2 today, I don't know. Here we go, left side of Firelink Shrine. Item up here, but you can hear some guys waiting in ambush. If you stand there, you can hear their breathing, actually. And they are presumably guarding this item. East-west shield, so when you take that, it triggers the ambush, and they are gonna come at you. Ember over here, this is like the humanity for this game, so, let's see. Let's see if I can get an example. I can't without dying, but hollowing in this game or losing your ember works more similarly to Demon Souls. So it's just a binary state. You're either embered or you're not. And I think embering increases your max health, etc., etc. So it's like being in soul form in Demon Souls as opposed to human form without the damage buff. So just know that if you don't see me embered, that I am cut off from online play and all that stuff that goes along with being human in the other games. So, and over here we have the first big challenge. This guy is a piece of shit. I'm gonna see if I can actually cheese him because he's pretty fucking difficult. Nice. Yeah, so you can get him to jump off and fall to his death right there, and that is the preferred way of killing him because he'll probably one-shot you until you're about level, what is it? Level 20. He is ridiculously strong, and he guards this door, which is locked from the other side. So it's going to be it's going to have to be another thing we get later when we come back. He does drop items, so if you want to get those, just like in any other Souls game, you're going to quit, return to the title screen, and then reload your game, and they're going to be right where he died, or right where he spawned in, rather. And I will hopefully be able to show you this if we get in game. Come on. Yeah, there you go. So he drops the Uchi Katana and the Master's Attire and the Master's Gloves. So Uchi is one of the best weapons early game. It does a lot of damage. Got a good moveset. You can bleed. It's fast. Stance is like... Its stance in particular is one of the best because you can parry and you can do a kind of lunge attack with it. So that's cool. But I don't think I'm going to be doing a dex build or a quality build, so I'm not going to worry about that. The Master's Attire. Oops. Wait, why am I going to the wing slot? What am I doing? Okay, there we go. Master's Attire. Absolutely awful armor that weighs next to nothing, so I guess that's plus. A terribly worn shirt. Men are fond of weaving tales to explain the raggedness of their garb. My sixth sense warned me of danger, and I danced between flurries of blades, unscathed, but alas, my clothes went to tatters. Yeah, so, yeah. A little jab at somebody calling themselves the Master, I guess. Uchi Katana is a unique katana characterized by the fine craftsmanship of an eastern land where it was forged. The finely sharpened blade cuts flesh like butter and causes bleeding, but breaks easily as a result, true to form of the other katanas. And its hold skill is you assume a holding stance to rapidly execute a lunging slash or deflecting parry, like I was saying. I don't know if you can actually use the stance without the requirements, but you can. So that's the lunging slash, and that's the parry. Parry's pretty fast, and you can pull it out relatively fast. Not as fast as, you know, a parry from a parrying shield or another small shield, but it's still good to have in a pinch. And it means that you're not really gimped when you have to two-hand your weapon, or if you want to two-hand your weapon, because you still have a defensive option open in the parry. So definitely one of my favorite weapon classes. But we're going to go back to the longsword. That's about it as far as Firelink Shrine goes. Well, actually, never mind. I forgot. We got a little bit of stuff to the right out here, too. Wait, is this Hawkwood?
The poor wretched souls, be they lord or legend, the curse shows no mercy. What a sham. The poor be they, what a sham.
Huh. That is fascinating. I've actually never seen Hawkwood in this location before, and that is pretty cool. So I guess this, well, we'll deal with what the significance of this grave is in the meantime, or in a future episode, I guess, but it is significant, I'll tell you that. So remember that we saw him there. These like half-ass spoilers I'm giving aren't really helping, but bear with me for now, because things will make sense later, and then I will stop having to, you know, half-ass spoiler them. Fuck, how do I get up there? How do I get up there? There's an item I'm trying to get to that, and I don't remember how we get to it, but fuck it. It's not an important item, it's like a homeward bone or something, so we'll deal with that later. Again. It's like, god damn, that's like the 16th time I said that. Alright, but anyway, that's one of the things I'll fix for next video, if I make it. I guess really the last thing we have to do here is plunge the coiled sword into the basin. I don't think you have anything else for us.
Ashen One, to be sovereign, I'm Ashen.
So she echoes the Maiden in Black from Demon Souls in a lot of her dialogue, and she even looks like her. Dressed in black, kind of cryptic, assumed to be powerful, but we don't know. Actually, Firelink Shrine, for that matter, in this game is a lot like the Nexus. It's a spot that is isolated from the other areas of the world, and you have to go through like the bonfire in order to get back. Interesting. Interesting. I think that might be one of the ways that FromSoft is saying that they're not going to make a Demon Souls sequel, because there are so many scraps and ideas from Demon Souls reused here. Like, a lot of them, so... Unfortunate, but I guess that's just how the cookie crumbles. Yeah, nothing else we can do here, so let's continue. So this brings up our bonfire interface, similar to the last game. You can attune your spells, you can organize your storage, you can burn undead bone shards here, so that's going to increase the power of your Estus Flask. You just straight up start with the bottomless box, which is nice again. As far as spells, we have one empty slot and we have no spells. Don't have any bone shards, and I don't think we need to drop anything off at the box unless we want to drop off like the Uchi, but that's not really necessary. When you go to travel, it'll bring up a travel menu with tabs, so all of the areas in the game are separated off into these tabbed areas, and their respective bonfires are clustered together, so that's a little bit of a gameplay consideration, I think, and a nice one at that. And you can get to Firelink Shrine from the bottom of any other tab, so you don't have to go all the way back to the start. We have 2 bonfires unlocked already, other than Firelink Shrines, and the High Wall of Lothric. That's the Cemetery of Ash, which is right before Iudex Gundyr's boss fight, and Iudex Gundyr's bonfire. We are going to save actually going to the High Wall of Lothric for next time. I think I want to keep everything self-contained in this one video for now, just in case I end up not finishing it, although this was a pretty boring video to start and end the series on. So I will probably be coming back to this either today or tomorrow. Rest assured, this series has a future, if a very short one. Not really a whole lot else that I need to say today, other than I appreciate the support for my last series, and I really hope that you guys are gonna appreciate this one as well, or at least a couple of you will. So without further ado, I guess that's it for today's video. I will see you guys next time.